This lesson is about bouncing the bow. When we bounce the bow, it can be done very early in a student's learning process. I know a lot of teachers and students who've been kind of afraid to start bouncing bow strokes until a student has had maybe 2 years of lessons or even 3 or 4. And actually, it's really very easy. As long as a student can have a nice relaxed bow hold, the rest can be done right away of bouncing the bow. I have 3 types of bounces. When I first am teaching bouncing bow strokes, I tell students to use the middle of the bow and use the D string or the D and G strings, and to just bounce a silent bounce. I'm using air quotes because it isn't really silent. You'll hear some sound, but just go straight up and down on the D and G strings and let your elbow and your shoulder be nice and relaxed. It's just like bouncing a ball on the floor. One of the things that you have to think about, though, is that maybe the strings are not level like the floor. A ball will bounce more easily if you're on a floor than if you're on a ramp, let's say, that's at an angle. If our strings are at an angle going downhill, when we start bouncing the bow, the natural physical properties of the bow will start making it want to creep away down into an area where the bow would not be playing normally. So what we want to do instead is take a look at the physics of the violin. If you see that the body is level with the floor, the strings are actually going uphill toward the bridge. So if I bounced my bow here, the natural thing would be for it to start bouncing downward this way. So what I'm going to do instead is make the strings level with the floor, and that means that I have to raise the scroll up just a little bit. Now the bow will bounce here and it will just stay in a nice single spot like that. So let's try it one more time. Silent bounces about the middle of the bow, have a nice floating elbow. And you get a very nice sound if your scroll is up just a little higher than you usually would have it. The second kind of bounce I call a V bounce, and the V bounce is going down bow and then going back up bow. So the sharp point at the bottom of the V is just a really crisp sound. I'll stay about at the middle and I'll just go down bow, up bow this way. Try it with me. Here we go. Buoyant elbow, my shoulder is relaxed, and my fingers are still nice and curved on my bow. The third type is a U bounce, and this time the hairs are going to stay on the string just a little longer. I'm still bouncing, it still feels like a ball bouncing on a floor, but instead of doing it in the middle, this one works better if you're at the balance point or even a little closer to the frog. So let's try a U bounce, and you'll hear that it's going to make a louder sound. You may be noticing when I do this kind of bounce is that when my bow stroke goes this direction, my violin actually goes the opposite way, and then they come back together. That's in Professor Rowland's language. He called that bilateral motion, meaning that we're going 2 different directions at the same time. This side is going outward and this side is going outward, and then they're both coming back together. So let's do bilateral motion with a U bounce. Here we go. So I hope that helps your bouncing bows, and I hope you have a lot of fun using bounced bows in your music.